We are now joined by former Husker Jay Moore and Husker Online's Sean Callahan. That's 77%. That's a lot.
That's shocking.
That's a lot. So what do you feel? First time that Matt Rhule's won a three-point game, he's lost a bunch of them. Your feelings after week one?
Yeah, I tell you what, a lot of tempered expectations, taking everything with a little bit of a grain of salt. There's a lot of good things, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be consistent on those the rest of the year. There's some things that need to be fixed, and I don't necessarily think what was bad will necessarily be bad the rest of the year. I take a look at from this. Nebraska had an opportunity. First and foremost, they got the win.
Yep.
And it's an unsatisfying win, and it hasn't happened against a Power 4 conference team in a long time. And the last time Nebraska beat a Power 4 conference was 2003 at Oklahoma State. So very, very happy. There's things that need to get fixed. There's things that were good. Biggest thing for me, things that need to get fixed the most is on defense and that front seven. I feel confident they will get cleaned up. But overall, I'm happy at how they came out. The offense did some good things. The special teams performed the way they need to perform. And we're 1-0 heading into Akron.
The last time Nebraska's coming home after not playing at home, 1-0, 1999 was the last time that happened. Be happy. This is a huge win.
Yes, it is.
No matter what people say, this is a huge win.
Yeah, that was Iowa.
Yes, that was Eric Crouch running over the guy on the sideline.
No, I thought the setting, the day was pretty special. I mean, to see close to 74,000 Nebraska fans in Arrowhead Stadium, it looked like a sellout to me from just eyeball test. The day was special because there aren't a lot of fan bases that would have been able to do what Nebraska fans did, especially with what the last 10, 15 years have looked like.
Yeah.
And that fan base mattered in the game. I mean, they caused 4 false start penalties on third down plays. 3 of them resulted in punts after the false start penalty. So I thought there were a lot of intangibles. And you heard Troy Dannon say that, hey, we might be back in Kansas City now sooner rather than later for another one of these games. And I can tell you, the Arrowhead folks are going to want Nebraska back there now. How they could get that worked out in the future. But I thought it was one of those days for a lot of Husker fans who will remember that trip. And obviously getting the win helps.
Yeah. Know this. 3.5 hours before the game, there were 3,000 people inside of Kauffman Stadium who paid $30 each to go inside of there for a tailgate. To wait 3.5 hours to go across the parking lot to go watch a football game.
Yeah, in the baseball stadium.
This fan base is unlike any other. No. I don't know if you can find 5 other fan bases that would do that.
In the world.
In any part of college football.
With recency bias, right? With
the way Nebraska's been.
They've been down for 10, 15 years, 100%. I mean, I think we could all agree Ohio State, there's Michigan fans maybe would travel that, but you got to tip your cap to them. I mean, I did not go to the game, but I had 15, 20 text messages.
Everybody I know
wondering, hey, where are you tailgating at? And I said, well, I'm not down there.
I think you're the only one that didn't go. Let's talk about the black shirts because I know what some of the numbers say with the quarterback rushing, but they actually played very well. They forced 4 3-and-outs, really. Only 22 yards in the second quarter. I mean, they played a good game.
They did. You look at the stats. I mean, holding a Big 12 opponent's offense to under 300 total yards and less than 17 points and causing 2 turnovers, 3 of 10 on third down.
Yep.
I mean, from afar, you look at that, like, how was that game as close as it was? I agree. But there are some things. The QB, the run game, that's a little bit of an issue, how they're playing up front. I'm not as concerned. I don't feel like the D-line necessarily just got dominated, blowing off the ball. Nebraska's defensive front moves around quite a bit. I just don't think they're very disciplined and clean on their execution on some of those run game stunts, so they got gashed a little bit. That will get fixed. But, that's a new group. I mean, there's a lot of new players that are playing in different roles. The linebacker crew is, other than Wright, you know, I mean, with Bullock being gone, I mean, that's a huge hole to fill. Refilling Nash and Ty. But overall, very, very pleased with when plays need to get made, they made the plays.
Yeah.
So, yes, there are always going to be things that need to get fixed, and I feel confident they will get fixed this week against Akron. A great time to get them fixed and get things cleaned up. But overall, let's look at how they started and how they finished. I'm not ecstatic, but I'm very pleased with the outcome.
2 things, these 2 weeks, now they have a chance to clean up. And one of the questions is who's playing in the middle of that defense? Because it looked like Watson Trent coming back off of missing some time. He looked a little slow. Is it Shavers? Is it Wright? Is it Dawson Merritt? What do you think happens in the middle of the defense?
Yeah, and even on the interior line too. But the linebacker position group, I thought Vincent Shavers and the grades show that played the best. Javen Wright had some plays in the game. here and there, but it was a quiet day for Marquise Watson-Trent. I think we had higher expectations for him, and even on the edge, some of those guys didn't have their best days. As McGahee had a couple misfires on the edge there, and but Jeudy was the one that really jumped out to me that you got to look at closer and how you manage that. And maybe it was just a game one thing, and they can improve in game two. And with these games, they need Elijah Jeudy to give them a better day of work than what he did on Saturday.
Can they survive not having a true 300-pounder in Big Ten play in the middle of that defense?
I tell you what, I mean, that just shows you how good Nash was at that spot, and his ability to take on the nose and take on the center and just kind of clog things up and let everyone else play off of that. I think so. I mean, Riley Van Poppel. I think we didn't see a ton from him. Nebraska's still trying to figure out who they are up there. I mean, you can kind of see some of these run game stunts right there on that play that Nebraska kind of wrapped the guy out there. So they're just
it's a big one.
And this is more pass rush lanes things, and you get some guys turned in man coverage. That's going to happen. But the run game stuff, it's just eyes and vision on that back end there. I mean, it's not an effort thing. The effort's there, but it's just an execution and playing with better eyes. But again, it's the first game. Cincinnati implemented some tempo in this, and that hurt. I don't care who you are, every defense is going to struggle with tempo, especially in your first game where your wind is not quite, your conditioning is not where it needs to be. But no, I think they can. I think they will. I think Nebraska can, if they don't have that true nose like a Nash, bring another defensive lineman there, make it a four-man front. You have that ability to do that within the 3-3-5. Otherwise, you can't go in there and expect, if you're going to execute like that, something has to change, especially in a couple weeks when Michigan comes to town.
Yeah, they went 22 seconds per play, which is the 16th fastest in the country. So they were going, and we saw what happened. Let's switch over to the offensive side. What stood out the most to you, Sean?
Well, I thought the scheme that Cincinnati came out with really tested the patience of Nebraska. It tested the patience of Dylan Raiola. You could see it from the press box. I mean, those three safeties almost looked like they were back in punt formation at times. And then, as you mentioned off air, the corners were even diving back.
They were bailing.
Dylan Raiola referred to it almost as a prevent defense that they were running at times. And they were adamant to not let the arm of Dylan Raiola take over the football game with big throws down the field, and it almost became a game of darts. I mean, it was like a game of cricket. And he was just trying to find the little spots on the board and hit them. And it was a lot of 6-yard, 7-yard type throws that were there, but it required great discipline and great tempo. And luckily for Nebraska, they did not turn it over. There were a couple, 2 or 3 opportunities that could have been turnovers. But, the lack of big plays was the other thing. You just didn't see the explosive run you wanted to see, or even some of the explosive plays in the passing game where guys broke tackles and made a big-time play down the field.
Yeah, just one play over 20 yards. So they're in that shell. You got to run the ball, right?
Yeah.
And that's how you get them out of that. You just got to run the ball down their throats. It's 6 or 7 sometimes on 6.
Yeah, and that should favor the offense in that scenario. Yeah, when they're playing off and 4 guys behind, maybe in 5 guys at times, you'd think you'd be able to run the football. So that's a little, not hugely concerning, because Emmett, Nebraska's got to figure that out as well.
Sure.
To figure out who that backup running back's potentially going to be. I mean, Emmett Johnson had 30-plus touches in a game. That's not sustainable for 11 more football games. Hopefully, 12 more, right? So they got to start figuring that out. But again, they're still trying to figure out this offensive line situation. Who's the left tackle going to be? There's a lot of depth, and that's a great thing. But also, you can have too many options, and I can't imagine as offensive lineman, because you have to play so well across the line as a group and communicate when guys are kind of coming in and out, but they're still trying to fill this whole thing out. So I'd like to see their rushing numbers be higher, more attempts.
Yeah.
I know Nebraska did throw the ball more, but sometimes, let's be honest, who's the best offensive player right now? It's probably Dylan Raiola.
Sure.
So let's get the ball in his hands and utilize his talent and his abilities. But I don't think it's, again, what was good or what was done this game. I don't necessarily think that's going to be what's going to be for the rest of the season. So I think it's more of a one game scenario. But I think this offense can be very multidimensional.
Before we get to that left tackle spot, so to start off the season last year against UTEP, both the transfer wide receivers had good days. But this is against Cincinnati. You see a good future for for Isaiah Hunter and Dane Key going forward?
I think the biggest thing that jumped out from the comments after the game was their ability to beat man coverage. And I believe Dylan or Dana or somebody said this after the game where, we couldn't do this last year, where the receivers were able to run that fade route and beat the man coverage. They just didn't have good man beaters in the offense. So I think right away what jumped out was Dylan Raiola is going to have better options against man-to-man that will get separation, that will get open, and they're guys that go up and get the football. So I thought that was encouraging with what both Dane and Isaiah did. You'd like to see more of Cortez Mills as things roll along. Ja'Cory Barney got twisted up on one of his early plays, so he wasn't all the way at 100%. I wonder what he'll look like this week and if they'll try to limit his load, so to speak, or if he's back to being the Ja'Cory we know. But I did love what they did against man-to-man and what that showed maybe potentially here for the future of the season.
Who do you like at left tackle? So it's Gunnar Gatula, Turner Corcoran, and of course Elijah Pritchett. Kind of mixed them all up, but Pritchett had the most snaps.
He did. Other than, I think he looked really, really good. Other than the false start, early in the game that kind of killed that drive. Nebraska was only get 3 points. I tell you what, I got to tip my hat to Teddy Prohaska, just the battle back and
incredible,
just what he's gone through. Again, they have great options. I think Elijah, if he can get his mind right and they can be trusted with the X's and O's. And I mean, you can't jump offside. You just can't have them. I know it's first game. I understand those things, but to me, going forward, I think Elijah Pritchett's the most talented guy, but you have to be the guy you can trust. I mean, Gunnar was thrown in the mix early last year, but again, the cupboard is full of offensive linemen, but I think going forward, Elijah Pritchett is your best option.
I know Pritchett probably beat himself up for it. I will tell you that it would have been a legal formation anyway, because they had 5 guys in the backfield, so at least we wouldn't have had that anyway. But you have to be able to obviously hold your water, but when you're down there in that position, especially with Nebraska, who struggled so much on finishing drive rate, it's really critical for a team like Nebraska.
And only to have 20 points. I mean, you're rarely going to win a game. So, that's why that situation mattered. They got bailed out because of the Shavers fumble later in the quarter before halftime. But, if that game is not 13-3 at halftime because of the Shavers play, you're going to look back on that false start even more. But I felt like the Shavers play kind of at least changed the game where you weren't thinking about that moment near as much as we probably should have been thinking about it.
And really, that's kind of a coaching mistake. Satterfield, that situation, especially since they'd had 2 long drives Nebraska had, you want to get to halftime, I think, there. And they kind of got a little bit of fool's goal on that first down play, which got them to 2nd and 1. Then they tried to run a screen on 2nd and 1. And I just think that they should have known where they were as a team and just try to get out of there.
I agree, and sometimes coaches, this is their first game of the year too.
Yep.
I think you easily overthink. I mean, you think about how much time you have to game plan. You're working on this game plan. You can overthink it, and I guarantee you, Holgerson and Rule and the rest of the offensive staff are probably thinking, "Damn, we got to, some things I'd rather done." And every coach is in this after game 1 is like, "Man, I wish I'd have done this instead of that." And those get fixed. And everyone's still working out the cobwebs, but you got to be cognizant of what situations you're in, where you're at time, and what your offense is really capable of doing where it matters most. And that's right at the goal line.
Bonner goes down for the season. I know you can't fill every job he did with one guy, but who are the people who step up?
Yeah, it's going to be a combination. I mean, whether it's Heiner Carberg, Carter Nelson, Quinn Clark, I think you're going to see a whole host of bigger-bodied athletes take on some of those duties, because Janiron was so unique. He played fullback at one time. He's played tight end, and now he played receiver again. So he had a lot of versatility for Dana Holgerson, and that's why he was in that rotation. He's a guy that suffered a major injury in high school, so broke his femur bone in high school, was ejected from a vehicle, thought he might never walk again.
Might lose his leg.
Overcame that injury to get to where he's at now, years later, and you feel for him because he's gone through a lot in his career, and he's about as humble of a guy as you'll meet in that locker room. And you just hope he can recover now.
Yeah, he's a true team player as well. Like you said, did everything they asked him to do.